A survey team crash lands on an unknown planet. The planet is dark, and its fetid swamps are filled with flesh-eating flowers, fearsome swamp slugs, and deadly dragon snakes. No one hears the survey team's distress signals. They are stranded. 30 years later, Zack and Tasha Rhonda and their Uncle Hool with Boba Fett in hot pursuit land on the planet. Descendants of the survey team, half-starved and crazed with strange fevers, are still alive. They call themselves the Children, and how they have survived is a mystery. Does the strange creature named Yoda have the answer?
Younglings, and welcome to the end of Galaxy of Fear.
It's true, and the end of season 2.
It's our season
Padawan
finale.
Library. We won't be seeing you guys for a couple months.
Yes, Padawan Library, the only Star Wars junior novel podcast. I'm Levi Paratic, and with me, as always, Tim May.
I'm here. I'm getting ahead of myself. So
it's like the last day of school. We are running out that door.
No shots, listeners. We love you, but
no shots. To show how much I don't care, I'm going to open this can of RC Cola on air. On air. My RC and me.
For our old podcast, I made a fake ad for a fake product called Coke Crate. Do you remember this?
I do remember this.
It was a parody of Loot Crate. But it was like sending you Coke, like a case of Coke in the mail, like with special German engineered shake resistance packaging or some shit. I don't know. It was funny. Regardless, at one point I put a sound effect in there of that I recorded myself of opening a can and going. It was a very amusing thing. I don't know if we ever even used it on an actual episode.
I don't know if we did either, but the ad was so good.
Yeah, I heard it again recently because it was on just some random mix CD that was in my car. And I just popped it in, and I had opened a mix CD with it. I was like, "This is the best thing ever." I gotta rip it or something and put it in an episode of.
Yeah, it always blew me away because I'm just like, this could be a real product. People would pay to have a case of Coke show up at their house.
And it was $30 a month, and it was and I was just like, that seems expensive, but if you look at it on a per I wrote the whole thing out. I'll see if I can find the file. I'm not going to put it in this episode because we're recording kind of late, but maybe in the new year, if somebody wants to remind me, I'll play it in an episode sometime.
Yeah, that'll be great. So I'm going to open up our show with our new segment in our home and leisure segment, which doesn't have a name, but some of our listeners may have seen on our social media. This is a plug for the social media. We'll plug it now so we don't do it later. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, email padawanlibrary@gmail.com. Yes. But anyway, I was at Walmart recently. And I just had to run in, get a few things, trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. But I found...
The one time I've been at Walmart during the pandemic is legitimately the most terrified I've ever been.
It was
it was so many fucking people. I couldn't, and it was like a Tuesday. It was not even like, it was so.
And you know what? You know what's worse than being like in a Walmart, like, and you just don't want to be in a Walmart during the pandemic, is when you see the one person walking around with no mask.
Oh, of course.
And it's just like you just want to like,
and they're like
at them
screaming at the fucking Walmart employees, and it's just like. Like,
fuck off.
Whatever. Anyway.
I remember seeing like a grandma walking around the store, and she just had this shit-eating grin on her face walking around, and like with no mask, and I just wanted to be like, "Oh, we got a badass on our hands over here."
God.
Like,
whatever. I don't. Well, yeah, whatever. Like, you know, half their clothing store is Duck Dynasty shirts, so what do you expect?
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Anyway, tie this into current events. I would quickly, because I was getting some ibuprofen, I had a headache, and on the end cap,
I've had so many like ailments this week.
Oh my gosh, there's so many ailments.
I've had a headache. I had like a toothache. I was like nauseous the other day. I've been going through a gauntlet of just ordinary like. I've just had every like common normal like sick thing except nothing with my throat or no cold, which is good because that's just terrifying during this period. But but still, it's just been
scared. There was a week I was terrified. I was having nose problems, so like I went and got myself some Flonase because my allergies were acting up, and then I got like a sore throat, and I'm like, I've had a sore throat for like 2 weeks. What is going on? I obviously have it. This was back when I was on the road and living isolated.
Right.
But then I just stopped taking the nasal spray, and it went away. So it's
maybe you did have it. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe I did have it, but
okay. So, what did you get at Walmart?
Okay. I got a Star Wars The Mandalorian The Child bath bomb.
Okay, you set me up for this right before we were recording, and I had no clue what you were talking about. You did not say Star Wars, so you just said, I got a child bath bomb, and I was like, what is that? So yeah.
I posted a photo on Instagram already. I'll post some of the, I obviously took a bath. Which
I have not taken. I can tell everybody on the air. I've not taken a bath. I'm not saying I have not bathed, or have not washed myself.
Like,
I have not taken
a
bath
the tub.
In minimum 15 years, maybe 20.
I mean, the last time I had a bath, I think I was like staying in a cabin with a jacuzzi. Like that's what I would like consider a bath. That was my last bath. But this was like that's like 5 years ago. Yeah, baths are kind of gross.
Disgusting.
It's kind of disgusting. But anyway, I got this bath bomb because it said there was a surprise inside. It was only $3, and I wanted to know what the surprise was inside. So I drew myself a bath. I put the bath bomb in. It was apparently watermelon scented. Didn't really have a scent to it. I got no scent. And like, I feel like I was supposed to put it in, and it was supposed to fizzle like the entire time, and after about a minute it stopped fizzling, and then it just fell apart like a wet cookie in the bottom of the bathtub.
Wow.
But I had a little keychain. I wish I had it with me. Let me grab it real quick. Vamp.
Oh my god, he's making me vamp. I'm looking at this room. I see a Labyrinth poster. I see a Hook poster. Disgraceful. You know I hate Hook, so.
But it came with this little Baby Yoda keychain. It's this little
hold it up
vinyl.
A little more, I can't see.
Oh, yeah. There's the camera.
Oh, nice,
yeah,
nice.
So
That's fun.
So that was what was inside the bath bomb. The bath bomb made me feel slimy. Like it was a green. Like the water was green, and it made me feel slimy.
Can't do it. This is the problem with baths. It's just because then you see like everything. Every like disgusting part of you can see in the water, and you're just like, I don't need this in my life. Also, it doesn't like it can't be that effective. I feel like
no, I had to immediately.
You're just laying in your like Filth,
Your
yeah.
You're laying in your
Oh
filth.
my god.
I mean, like, say back before there were showers, like, say in old West times when you had to fill, like, a big bucket.
Oh,
and
babe,
take a
like
bath.
stand in a big barrel of water.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
my dream. I would love that. I would
See,
love to
that
set up like a fireplace, like, and then have like a
cauldron?
metal cauldron, like,
Yeah.
and like just sit in that. That I would love, but that's more about the old timey thing than anything else.
Right. So, when we go to Westworld,
I saw the movie Westworld many years ago.
yes.
I have no real interest in the show.
Yeah,
Although I
can't-
like, there are people I know who like it. I just like it. Just seems like it's. I don't know. It just doesn't
Yeah.
seem like my thing.
Yeah, and the movie I've seen twice, and on the second time, of course, the movie directed by Michael Crichton,
Right.
legend, R.I.P. But he, I feel like that movie like falls apart in the third act because it's this really long chase scene, and it just like
That guy just loved
doesn't
theme
work.
parks, man.
Yeah, he did. He definitely like went to Disney World like all the time. Like,
All right, so speaking of. Obviously, we're all looking forward to an upcoming original piece of programming on Disney Plus, the
correct.
Giannis Antetokounmpo biopic that they're making. That's going to be out probably in a couple of years. That was announced yesterday. I was very excited. So that's obviously the piece of entertainment on that platform we're looking forward to the most.
That and the Bad Batch.
Oh, well, Bad Batch will actually premiere when we're putting out new episodes,
Oh no,
I think. Because isn't that supposed to come out in February?
I don't know.
It's supposed to be in the spring, I think, maybe.
For like no reason at all, I thought of the Bad Batch for the first time today in ages. So that's the only reason
I still
brought it
haven't
up. I
finished
had-
Clone Wars, which is pathetic, frankly. But
yes, you
I'm not
do.
watching anything between now and Tuesday because I don't want to have any associations if things go badly.
Oh,
So
my!
we don't need to go further into that.
I get I get so triggered by that too.
Yeah, I just I'm
uh,
just like, you know what? I don't want to associate anything that like I might like otherwise with this moment if it's a bad moment. So that, you know what I mean? Like it's as simple as that. It's fine. I mean, I'm gonna watch the new Mando tomorrow. Obviously, I'm
Yes,
excited about
obviously,
that. That'll be
so-
great. Yeah, I can't wait. I watched the
Tomorrow.
new Star Trek Discovery this morning. By the way, last Star Trek mentioned of the season. This is the season of Star Trek. Talk from me. Discovery season 3 is pretty good so far. I am pleased thus far. That's all I'll
good.
say.
I'm glad you're enjoying it because you were so betrayed by Picard.
No,
So-
yeah, don't get me started on that again. But the yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Both of the first two seasons kind of fall apart at the end, so I don't want to get too hopeful. But you know, this is compelling. Anyway, Mandalorian. I know nothing. I still haven't even seen the trailer. That's how I am going in totally cold tomorrow,
Oh, good.
which is exciting.
That's exciting.
I'm very pumped. You guys won't hear our thoughts on this for quite a while.
No, you won't. Not a lot.
It's just funny to me that all of our fans are going to wake up tomorrow, probably watch Mandalorian, and then maybe they'll open up their podcast app and download our new episode, or the season finale, and they'll be like, I wonder what they thought of Mandalorian. It's just like, you won't know.
You won't know.
All right.
I'm sure we'll like it, unless it's like a complete disaster.
Oh.
So, but I doubt
why,
that.
why would it be? Is
Filoni can't fail us.
Yeah,
so.
there's a million. Yeah,
He's from Penn-
if that show falls apart, it'll be in season 4 or 5. It's not going to happen. And also, I don't think it will. I'm not.
I mean, and also, well, I mean, oh wait, I can't make that analogy. So I was about to say, it could be the Iron Man 2, but then we'll get Iron Man 3. So, and
Well, Iron Man 3 is not Favreau, though.
yeah, I know that's the
Yeah,
problem.
but there's a huge difference clearly between what the expectations for Iron Man 2 were from the studio and what the expectations for this are. So
yes.
I'm not concerned. Anyway, so well, We actually have some real stuff to review, even other than the book, which, again, this is the final Galaxy of Fear book this week, The Hunger, which we'll be covering in the main topic, but there is a discovery you made, that there's a short story that was published on Hyperspace back in...
The old Star Wars fan club, published in 2009.
A delightful thing. That was published in 2009, so well after Galaxy of Fear. And it takes place after,
I think it's book
6, and it gives us an explanation for where a certain character went. Although this character returns in the main book today, also. So
yes, he does.
So basically, I don't remember what the planet is. It's a planet from the Han Solo Adventures by Brian Daley.
Nice.
This book, this short story is also accompanied, by the way, by a list of notes that explains every reference the guy made to every EU thing.
First, there's a Jude reference. You caught the
Jude
reference,
the Melita
right?
Dawn stuff, which is just like a offhand.
Yeah, I know it is so offhand. Yeah. But the fact that he knew about it was a lot of fun.
Well, no, he's clearly a huge fan. What's the author's name?
Okay, the short story is called "Death in the Slave Pits of Lord."
Right.
That's the planet, and his name is Adric Tolliver.
Adric Tolliver. He's exactly our age because About the Author talks about how he's going to some Lutheran university in Texas that fall, and this is 2009. We started college in 2009, so it's very funny to me that when he was a senior in high school, he wrote this story.
It's really impressive, actually.
It's not bad because it's written as a hyperspace article. First person from Tash's perspective,
as a school assignment for DV.
Yes, that's true for DV, and even the droid, the homework checking droid from Jedi Prince is in this. It's pretty funny. I don't think the story itself is all that interesting, but basically DV, it takes place on the planet Lord, which is in Han Solo's Revenge, I think. And there's a bunch of crazy stuff like that, and DV. Basically, the conclusion is that DV decides that he's like, I'm tired of the grind here. They're going to drop me off on a planet that is referenced in the Hunger here because we re-encounter DV in this book.
We do.
But yeah,
it's written as Tasha's school assignment, and if this is Tash talking, she's very much trying to be she's going above and beyond for this paper. It's basically the paper starts off as, let me see here. Oh man, this text is so tiny on my screen. Oh, what did you think of the illustrations? The
illustrations are great, and in the notes too, there's a funny bit where the guy says that he didn't know that there would even be illustrations when he submitted the story until it was published. When he asked Pablo Hidalgo who did the illustrations, he said it was Tash Aranda that did the illustrations.
Wow, legend! I love Tash. Well, because she signs them too. It's all in Arabic. I love her Han Solo.
I actually really like the illustrations. I would guess they're actually Pablo Hidalgo himself because they're these weird crayon drawings. I think I've seen he does Transformers fan art. I think or something. So I wouldn't be shocked if they were just his, because they're actually pretty good too. They're not bad. I mean, some of them look better than others, but yeah, no, they're...
but he does Han and Uncle Hool. Those are the two, and then the rest are all characters to the story. But they're a lot of fun. So, so the opening says here is "Death in the Slave Pits of Lord," or "What I Did on My Interterm Break" by Tash Aranda. So
it's Buster Bunny classic right there.
And of course it reads like a paper. She's putting quotes everywhere. And then, excuse me, that RC is coming back on microphone. But then, like, they, of course, like, while she's, like, talking about, like, Lord, she's also, like, describing their adventure. So it's, like, kind of like a Lost Galaxy of Fear novel. And there's a hilarious quote from Uncle Hool. Let me find it here. Okay. The Empire again? Why am I not surprised? Uncle Hool.
It's like a quotation, which is very funny. I had a good time with it. It reminded me that, like, I did really like hyperspace. I was never, like, super hardcore into it, but I was a member for a brief period at one point, and so I read some stuff on it, and I feel like that's something they should bring back. It's a super cool.
Yeah, I agree too. That's. I mean, is there a Star Wars fan club currently?
I don't know.
I'm googling it.
I would guess not. But,
let's see. No, it's all it goes to is like StarWars.com goes to community, and they have a list of fan sites and blogs. Okay.
It's nice they still promote those, I guess.
Yes. Let's talk about the author here, because he has a Wikipedia article. First off, I found this article on Wikipedia. It's in all of the character mentions from these books, but you go to the page and there's basically no information. The description is Death in the Slave Pits of Lord is a hyperspace in-universe story written by Adric Tolliver. So that's it. And then so I had to Google this, find it. I posted a link on the Twitter and Facebook. It is a Facebook link.
Yeah, it's like a Facebook page, like a fan page posted it.
Star Wars Upcoming Books and Comics. So shout out to Star Wars Upcoming Books and Comics for posting this. It's all in photos. But Adric has his own Wikipedia article, and it's kind of silly because it's so short. So Adric Tolliver is the author of Death in the Slave Pits of Lord, a piece of short fiction appearing on StarWars.com. Tolliver also wrote the backstory for 3B6 RA7 and co-wrote the backstory for Juan Godhali, appearing in the databank through the What's the Story feature of Hyperspace. His alias is TalonCard86 on StarWars.com and TalonCard on the Force.net Jedi Council forums as well as Wikipedia.
I used to lurk on the Jedi Council forums.
I did too. I 100% did too.
I never posted. The only forums I'm not going to admit which forums I posted on when I was in high school. Well, it was a Weezer forum. Get over it, everybody. That's the only one I ever actually posted on. But even that, I think I had 200 total posts over the course of 7 years on that forum.
Yeah,
so,
that's reasonable.
I was not a frequent commenter, but I would lurk on all these places back in the forum days. And the Force.net, I remember not being that bad as far as that kind of thing goes.
I remember, it was fine. Yeah, I had a good time there.
They were reasonable.
I always liked being on the toy section because that was what I was into.
Right.
So, but anyway, so yeah, this story was fun. It's funny because it's like DV is making notes throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's where we find out DV. What's his last note? At the very end.
Okay, I'll just read the last note. Okay. After the adventures on Kiva and Lord, I believe I've had all the excitement my servos can take. I am leaving the Shroud when we reach Koan. This will be the last assignment you will receive from me. I have seen fit to give this rambling and uneven collection of information a passing grade. However, you may find your uncle is not as forgiving as I am.
Yeah, no, that was amusing. There's several pages of notes, just about references and stuff like that too. It's a fun thing to check out. If you're a fan of this podcast, I think you would enjoy it. But it's a nice little addendum to Galaxy of Fear. It's nice to have one other Galaxy of Fear thing to talk about. But
because there's we'll talk about it later, but there's some post Galaxy of Fear information about Tash and Zach, but they don't really appear outside of these books or anything.
Sure.
So we'll get into that.
We'll get into it later. And there's also yeah, I'm just curious. I'm excited to talk about The Hunger here because I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are on it as an ending. I would say, it's an interesting thing.
This book is all over the place. We'll talk. I'll say that.
All right, so yeah, we'll talk when we come back. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here as always with Levi Paratek.
Hello.
So, we've come to the end of Galaxy of Fear after over a year now. It took a long break.
Which is actually how long the whole Galaxy of Fear story is 1 year.
About that, so that's fair enough. And, we've been maybe a little more tepid on the books through the last few. Mm-hmm. I think we were a little more fond of the early books where there was more of an ongoing storyline. Mm-hmm. But here we are. Last week we enjoyed that one, right?
Yeah, Clones was fun because we had that fake Darth Vader. So
that was fun. Yeah, this book, it's the final book in the series. Now, it doesn't really end anything that's it kind of does. There's a couple it kind of ends, but
it kind of ends, and it also sets up new things that could have been set up way earlier too.
Oh yeah, this book is jam packed with incident. But yeah,
yeah, this book is okay. I'll start by saying this because one of our listeners said on Instagram that they thought Hunger was the creepiest book, and I kind of agree with it. I feel like it's most... It's
about cannibal children, just heads up.
Yeah, so, and
that's pretty creepy.
A dude gets first off, one of the children get killed right at the beginning, so they say they eat that person, and then a dude they cut off a dude's head and they eat his body, and then there's another dude who's alive and they eat his arm and his leg. So it's some real crazy stuff.
So yeah, listen, I thought this book includes a couple big legacy characters. Mm-hmm. We get a return of Boba Fett, and not a spoiler to say that because he's on the cover, Yoda shows up. And we'll talk about Yoda. I have issues with that.
I have issues too because I felt like Yoda started off strong, and then the next chapter he showed up, John completely gave up on writing Yoda and just wrote him straight.
Yeah, literally straight. Not backwards.
No. The first chapter was, but the second chapter with Yoda was it was terrible. He didn't even try.
All right. Well, let's just get into it because.
Okay, well, it starts off, prologue, we got Boba Fett and Vader, he hires Boba, he's like,
it's our last appearance of Vader for the series.
Yeah, he's like, I need you to hunt down the Aranda children, alright, and their uncle, so he's paying 50,000 credits for the Arandas alive.
That seems low for my guy Boba.
Boba is even it is more. He's like, I'm going after this other dude who's more. And he tries to negotiate, and Vader's like, not happening. So, and
the Empire is efficient, my guy. They're not overpaying for anything.
No, they're not. And then Uncle Hool is worth 100,000 credits alive, but he'll pay 75,000 for Hool dead. So that's where we set up the book starts. So then in chapter 1, they are on Nar Shaddaa, and they get attacked. Narshada. Oh, sorry.
And they get attacked. Hunting, the kind of criminal moon. If you've read Dark Empire, or it's a very common 90s EU setting.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
But Nar Shaddaa, they think they're going to be safe on Nar Shaddaa, even though they're wanted by the Empire, is one of... I gotta say, I question Uncle Hool's judgment. Constantly.
I do too.
This is absurd nonsense. He's they're wanted by the Empire. They don't know that there's literally bounty hunters that have been hired to hunt them yet. But that's something you should assume. why would you be going to Narshada and be like, yeah, we'll be safe here? It's ridiculous.
This is the same guy who thought we should go to Dantooine because they have an abandoned rebel base there. So, and
like the Empire won't be there on the planet with the abandoned known rebel base.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a single outpost there observing everything that comes in there. Yeah, and anything the kids bring to Hool passes off. Like, he doesn't believe a word that comes out of their mouth until he has proof. So, it's an ongoing issue with Hool. Hool is not a very receptive uncle sometimes.
It's true. But I think they run into some random bounty hunter that doesn't matter.
Ooh, that reminds me, too. In the short story, Tash and Zach's parents are named. I don't remember them being named.
They never were named. That's actually mentioned in the notes that he wrote, is that he was surprised that they were never named, nor was Hool's brother named. So he named all these characters. So, good for him. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they run into some rando bounty hunter who doesn't matter. They have some chase through Narshada. They shake him. They're able to escape, but guess who is following them directly? The Slave One is right behind them. And but nobody's on board. What's that? They do a scan. No one's on board. It's because Boba Fett's on the Shroud himself. He's there.
And he holds them at gunpoint.
He's stowed away. He's like Jim Hawkins. Jim Hawkins chilling in the Shroud. That's Treasure Island. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Well, then he's like Doctor
Most of our listeners didn't need that to be explained.
He's like Dr. Smith hiding out on the Jupiter 2, if you know what I mean. So, all right. So anyway, he holds them at gunpoint, and then like Hool transforms into like a snake and gets to the back of the ship, and then Boba Fett fires a rocket into the back of the ship, basically really destroying, breaking apart the Shroud. And by
the way, they had. Oh, wait, no, they're landing on another planet to find
DV. They decide they're going to go to.
that's what it was. Yeah.
They decide they're going to go to Koan, sorry,
which is apparently where they dropped DV off 7 or 8 books ago, and they're going to meet up with DV. And there's a hilarious line here where I think it's Tash. It's just like, DV? I haven't thought about that guy in ages or something. It's some nonsense like that.
Oh man. Also, we should mention, because we're all over the place in this episode, this is a Zach POV book. So
which, again, for the last book, not great.
For the last book, and also, too, for his sister to meet a certain character, and, like, we don't get her POV on that. It should have been both characters' POVs, in my opinion. It could switch from back and forth, and I don't know why you never did that. So,
that's the thing, though. Zach is jealous that, like, Hool is trusting more and more in Tash and her Force ability.
Her feelings.
Yeah, so, and he's just like, oh, like, I can contribute to, like, Tash isn't the only one.
So he's jealous, which I feel like we've had this plot before, where he's, like, jealous of her.
Yeah, definitely. The series is repeating itself. But so they get to this planet with DV, they meet up with DV, and DV is, like, working at some sort of research laboratory or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they download a bunch of information on planets that are uninhabited, because they want to go to an uninhabited planet to hide out from the Empire. And they're able to do that, but then
some smugglers
show up, and they I guess are also on the run or something. So they take this information, and then they delete the information about the planets. So the smugglers take Hool and the kids with them, and they're off to Dagobah, which is the planet they've decided to go to. But Boba Fett came in and he had like some magic device that was able to recover any deleted files.
Yeah, I know. It's so convenient.
So he's able to follow them. It's like, there's other ways that could have been plotted, and it would have been the exact same outcome.
They could have just, well, first off, Boba Fett is, like, incredibly vicious in this book.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's cool. I like Boba Fett.
He's cool, too, because, like, I like him, too, because, like, John always... hides him. He always unmasks him. Zach always sees him without his mask on, but like he can't like see him. He's like obscured, still.
He's just like, how much do you look like Tamura? Are you there yet? So
tomorrow, possibly. Tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah, tomorrow he'll look like Tamura.
Tomorrow, which is today, if you're listening. So
yeah, that's true. All right, so
there's this joke in the Ringo Starr special from 1976.
Oh, I've seen that special.
Where it's just like, he keeps talking about how he's going to be on the Today Show, and he's like, oh, are we playing tomorrow on Today? And they're like, no, Ringo, today was tomorrow, and like tomorrow
most classic Ringo bullshit.
Yeah, and tomorrow's not even your song, like. And then there's a later joke where he goes outside and he's watching people on the sidewalk, and Ringo goes, "Oh, the lonely people, where do they all come from? That's not my song either."
Oh, I wonder if Paul was just sitting on his farm in '76 watching that special. Mm-hmm. Him and Linda, super stoned. And they were just like, it's not his song. It's wild. I love 70s Beatles stories are easily some of my favorite just showbiz stories of all time.
Well, that
shit.
Special is so funny too because it opens with John and George, and there's a press conference about Ringo, and they are interviewing George about it, and George is like, well, it all happened on this year when at the same time at the exact moment 2 identical children were born, one in England and one in America. Like, and he's telling this whole story.
So weird. And Ringo talks about how there's entire chunks of the 70s he doesn't remember. So
I bet that's on it. So Carrie Fisher also in that special.
There's probably chunks of the 70s she doesn't remember either.
There's definitely chunks of the 70s she has no clue what was going on. So
anyway, let's get back to the book. What was it? They're heading to Dagobah, and so at this point you're like, okay, well they're gonna be. We're gonna meet Yoda, we know that. But they're on their way down, and like they're like, should we land? And like Tash has a feeling, and they're like, speaking of the Beatles, she's got a feeling, feeling deep inside. Oh yeah, so God, I hate myself. So anyway, she says she has a feeling, but it's actually not necessarily a bad feeling. Like, maybe something good's going to happen on Dagobah. So they land, and it's a swamp, and the ship that they're on, it's not the Shroud, it's the smuggler's ship.
Yes, I don't know the name of it. The smugglers are named, we have 3 named smugglers. There's apparently 6 smugglers total, or 5 smugglers.
Too,
There's other characters. Their names are Platt, who is a human female, True Ebb, who is a Twi'lek, who doesn't really do anything. I would say he's our character spotlight of the week because he sees some shit and luckily survives it. And then there is, who is the other one? Trot.
This character.
He's the one
factors heavily.
He's the one who has the worst time in this book. So,
anyway, so they land. The ship is sinking already. They're like, "Oh shit, this place kind of sucks." They're hopping around. They see that there's like clearly some sort of settlement here because there's stones. There's stepping stones throughout the thing that have clearly been used. They're not growing over with moss or anything. So they follow the stepping stones, and they meet. They meet.
Hang on, where is it?
The children.
They meet Platt. No, Galt.
No, Galt.
Galt.
Who is the leader of a group of children called the children that call themselves the children.
The children.
And they tell this sob story about how there was this research mission or something 30 years ago that landed on Dagobah, that was going to settle on Dagobah, and the fucking, like, everybody got, like, nobody was able to survive. Nobody knew how to survive on this planet.
But they had children.
And I won't get into how those children survive yet, because that comes later. But so yeah, so these are the descendants of that original group, probably children, maybe grandchildren at this point,
right?
And
but like Zach, he's just like, oh, we're from like another planet, and like the Gult is like, planet, and he's like, yeah, out in the stars, and they're like, he's just like, stars,
excuse me.
Yeah, like, because they explain, like, because of the overgrowth on Dagobah, they can't see anything, and of course there's creepy crawlies and beasties all over the place too. And
quite a bit of beastie action in this book.
Yeah, and they're also afraid of a thing called, and they fear, is the imp. So they're like, oh, the Imperials, and they're like, Imperials? What are Imperials?
No, we're talking about the imp, and we know, as readers in the back of our mind, we're on Dagobah, the imp. Who are they talking about? They're talking about old Yodi boy, Yoda himself. So anyway, then how do they actually eventually meet Yoda?
Okay, so Zach is like on his own, and he decides, he thinks he sees something in the distance. Oh, yeah. Gult is like, I don't know what you're talking about. So Zach, well, first off, Zach gets bitten by a meat flower at some point.
Literally one of the grossest terms I've ever heard in my life.
Meat flower.
Meat flower. Ugh.
Hang on. I'm going to search it on Wikipedia here.
See if it appears anywhere else.
Oh, there is an article.
I'm sure, yeah.
Nope, this is the first and only appearance.
I was going to say, like, does it appear in other appearances of Dagobah, or is it...
No, nope, that's it. So anyway, he gets bitten by a meat flower, and then he runs into Yoda, and Yoda... he gives him a lesson and sends him on his way. So he's like, I'll see you. So Zach, he's like, this creature was strange, but like I feel a connection to him, and which he describes as prime, but a weird kind of prime.
Yeah, he says this by himself. He's by himself, and he's just like, that was prime. A weird kind of prime. He says that to himself.
I know.
Oh, I love it. Prime. We haven't really talked about that. That's his thing. He says
that is his thing.
He says things are prime when they're cool.
Uh-huh.
That's cool, I guess.
If it's not big enough for us to have described any of these books as being prime, so...
Yeah, I wish, but...
I wish too, but, we'll get into this later, but, it's prime, but a weird kind of prime, and then he gets back to the group, and he wants to tell them about, what he found, but he finds Boba Fett's ship, and when he gets back to the village... the children, they're making something, and he's just like, what are they making? But then Hula's like, oh, Boba Fett's here, we should go and try to find Boba Fett. Well, that's Platt's idea, and she's like, Hul, you better come with us, you're the strongest, and I'll put 2 of my guards with the children, and they should find that Yoda character again, because Zach tells them about Yoda. So this leads them, the children, looking for Yoda again with these 2 guys. The one, his name is Trot. And this book makes some efforts to demystify smugglers, and that smugglers are people too, because Zach has some preconceived notions about smugglers that
to be fair to him, he's encountered quite a... Although I will say he shouldn't, actually,
right?
Like,
they've
his
been
only
all
real
over.
Interaction with smugglers have been Han Solo and Dash Rendar, who have both been pretty fucking helpful.
Yeah, I agree. So he's describing Yoda to these guys, these smugglers, and one of the smugglers say, "Sounds like my mother-in-law."
Oh my god!
But this thing
Classic
seems nicer looking. And then, but Zach's like, "Wait, smugglers can be married?"
Yeah, I know. And this is hilarious coming from Zach. He's just like, wait a minute. Are you telling me that smugglers can fall in love?
Huh?
Yeah.
And Trot's
Very
like,
funny.
yeah, look at this promise ring I got on my finger. So that factors pretty heavily later. But anyway, they get attacked by beasties. One of the guys disappears.
Including meat flowers, all kinds of meat flowers.
Oh, meat flowers.
Meat flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, that's just an inherently upsetting two words together. Meat flowers? Ugh.
I agree. But they get attacked by giant spiders. The one guy disappears, and the other guy, Trot, he gets injured real badly, and the children come by to help them, and they take Trot, and then they see the imp, and like they go running off, and this is where Tash and Zach have their moment with Yoda.
Yeah, so they have a moment with Yoda. Tash realizes pretty quickly that he's a Jedi Master because she's, has strong in the Force, and he immediately cops to it. He doesn't play games like he does with Luke a year later or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, I guess. And they.
Well, actually, no. The way this book ends makes it seem like immediate. Like it's Empire Strikes Back is like happening like at the end of this book.
That's true. It's wrong. There's 3 years between New Hope and
right.
So
and
the destruction of Alderaan, which happens like a little over a year before this book, I think. Like it's still 2 years away till.
That's true. You're right about that.
It should be that, but anyway. So
hey, I want to say, not to interrupt you, but I googled meat flower, and this is like a term. There's a type of flower, also as a carrion flower, or also known as a Laphiza flower, and they emit an odor that is similar to that of decaying meat, which attracts flies.
So it's a real thing?
Yeah, and it attracts flies that pollinate the plant. But however, in this book, it seems like it has a mouth and it can bite things. Like it seems like
it's like Audrey 2 or something.
Yes, exactly, or whatever those Mario creatures are.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that the Yoda stuff in this book. Well, let's put this all out on Front Street.
Okay.
I have a huge problem with Yoda being in this series.
Yeah.
I think it's a big problem. Yoda... I don't mind some Force contact between Yoda and, say, Ezra in Rebels, which happens. Or is that with Kanan? I can't remember. Anyway.
I think it's Ezra.
Yeah, anyway... Like, I don't mind stuff like that, but having actual, like, direct contact with, like, people from off-world between Yoda and them, like, especially this close to The Empire Strikes Back, I think is, like, nonsense. Like, watch him in that movie. Like, he's like, it's not just that he's playing a joke on Luke, which I think is part of it, but he's also, like, gone a little kooky, like,
and like, by this book, too, like, the parents of the children would have been there before Yoda arrived. Yep. So, like, I mean, that wasn't known at this point. This book came out, but
specifically known,
that would have been, like, Yoda was never alone on the planet.
Like, I remember to be fair, I do remember being surprised when I realized the gap between the trilogies was only going to be 20 years. But we shouldn't have been. We always knew Luke was like 19.
Mm-hmm.
Luke and Leia were like 19 years old. So it's like, yeah, they would be, like, they would have been born right before the rise of the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
That's not surprising. Anyway.
This also is a problem, too, because, like, Tash and Zach know Luke. And, like, they have technically met Yoda before Luke has.
Yeah, I think it's very silly. Anyway, so they, I think I got some Junior Jedi Knights books in the mail just now.
Oh, nice, nice.
Okay.
This
coming
is
up
also,
in January, baby.
This is this is the chapter where John gives up for writing Yoda here. I have no real examples, but I'll just read lines verbatim from because you thought they were food, Yoda said. I have taught them otherwise, Yoda said. Yoda chuckled to himself. Still he worries. No, poison in the spiders. Come, time is short.
I mean, that's kind of.
Kind of.
Listen, to be fair to John Whitman, I would prefer slightly, like, normal Yoda speak to very bad versions of Yoda.
I got one that has your favorite term in it.
Oh, boy.
The meat flower is like all things that live in the Force. It bites only to eat. It eats only to survive. This is your reminder. Yoda handed a meat flower to Zach.
You had to put some backwards talk in that. Like, in one of there had to be some backwards clause at some point in that.
Yeah. Like all living things, the meat flower is. That's like, there you go.
There you go.
But he didn't even do that, but
anyway, so that Yoda's essentially teaching this lesson because when they get back, they realize that the children are cannibals.
Mm-hmm.
That the children, because like Zach sits down to eat with them, and then there's a finger in the soup.
And there's a promise ring in the bowl too.
Yeah, it's exactly.
But it should be noted that Yoda wishes to speak to Tash only, and Zach is like, wait, what? So like Yoda just gives him a meat flower, and he goes, okay, shoo. So like Zach's like feeling all like, oh, this sucks. Like Tash gets to have all the fun. I don't get to hang out with Yoda. That's not Prime. So non-prime.
It's not non-prime.
That's totally non heinously prime. So anyway, he realizes they're cannibals on his own, and then they throw him in a cage. They're like, you are food. He's like, I'm not food. They're like, you're food. He's thrown into a cage, but then he realizes he's not alone in the cage. Boba Fett is in the cage with him. They took off his armor, and he's like, Boba Fett, how'd you get in here? And he's like, well, I landed on the planet, and a dragon snake attacked me, and I was knocked unconscious, and then I'm here. And Zach goes, well, they're going to eat you. Like, aren't you worried about the fact that they're going to eat you? And this is where Boba says something super hard. He says, before they eat me, they have to come in here and get me.
Yeah, that's hard as fuck.
And anyway,
that's pure Boba shit.
It is
incredible.
So then the children come. They're going to eat Zach first. They pull Zach out of the cage, and Zach fights them off. He grabs Boba's blaster, sets it to stun, and stuns the children. Boba Fett's in the cage like, you should have killed them. He's like trying to like sheave. He's sheaving Zach over there like, you should kill him. Like,
oh boy. So yeah, and then how does this ultimately wrap
okay,
up?
so he lets Boba out, and then Boba's like, all right, take me to your sister and Yoda. So he's like thinking like maybe he's on their side now, but then they find Yoda and Tash, and Boba's like...
And Hool just shows up, by the way.
Yeah, well, Boba's like, I can't afford to have loose ends, so he tries to kill Yoda, but all his weapons don't work. And then, basically, because of Yoda... Boba Fett trips into a hole and lands in the cave on Dagobah, the cave.
Oh,
and,
right, yes.
And then the children come in, and Galt tackles Zack, and Zack falls into the cave, too.
So Zack has a big vision.
Mm-hmm. And the vision is a flashback of the parents on the planet and how they make this decision to allow their children to eat people as a way for their children to survive.
Right. And so then, he runs back into Boba Fett and he's just like, yo, did you have a vision? And Boba Fett's just like, no, I didn't. But clearly he did. Clearly he was seeing Django.
Yes. That head was flying off left and right.
And he was just like Mace Windu's face just pouring at him.
It's exactly like Luke's vision, where like Luke is, and then Mace Windu shows up.
Mace Windu's in the mask and explodes, and it's Mace Windu.
Yeah.
He has to fight himself, and he like blasts off Boba Fett's head, and the Mandalorian mask fucking blows up, and it's fucking Mace Windu. But he doesn't tell us about that, but we figured it out.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Okay, so then Boba goes back. He's like, okay, I'm going to get you guys now. And then Hul shows up, and it's a trap. So then Boba escapes.
Right. So...
And this is where the book just ends.
Boba escapes. They do decide... There's some talk about, like... the smugglers... The leader of the smugglers, what's her name? Platt, yeah. Oliver Platt herself. She decides that, maybe I'll, go help the rebellion. And then Uncle Hul is just like, maybe we shouldn't try hiding. Maybe we should do something like that. And that's the end.
That's it.
I mean, we get an epilogue, but the epilogue is something else.
The epilogue... Well, the epilogue...
That is part of the epilogue, actually.
Yeah. The first part of the epilogue is that Boba Fett gets a call from Darth Vader. He's like, I'm calling off the bounty. I need you to chase the Millennium Falcon. And Boba's like, okay. And then...
that leads right into Empire, basically.
And because the children saw the vision in the cave, they know the struggles their parents went through and, like, why eating people is not, like, a fond thing from their childhoods. So the smugglers take the children, and they're going to drop them off somewhere nice.
Yeah.
And then I guess Hul and the Arandas decide to join the rebellion. And the book ends on this note here. Hang on, where is it? All right. Hul considered, I'm tired of running from the Empire. Perhaps it's time to stop running. Zack looked out the viewport into space. The whole galaxy seemed to stretch out before them. It was dark and dangerous and full of fear, but it was also full of stars, and the stars brightly burned. Okay, he said, let's go. The end.
So... Yeah, okay. You said you had some stuff from Wikipedia that tells us about post-Galaxy Cure. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk just about this as an ending.
Well, we should mention, too, that, like, so Tash thinks Yoda and Tash were, like, talking about the Force the entire time, when really she's like, Tash is like, oh, we only talked for a little bit about it, and then Yoda just kept going on and on about the animals and plants around here.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where it's learned that this was a lesson. Yoda had planned this lesson for Zack to be independent, to know that he doesn't need his sister, he can take care of himself, and he can take care of his sister. And Zack
Yoda's great with the younglings, man.
And Zack also sort of realizes he's also Force sensitive. He's just developing later than his sister because he's the younger brother. He's going through adolescence as well. Puberty is starting.
Although that's not really when the Force comes in. It's not like mutant powers and X-Men. But whatever, it's fine. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, as an ending, this feels pretty abrupt. It definitely seems like he just kept getting, 3 or 4 book deals to extend the series, and they're just like, yeah, we're done. Maybe they gave him a heads up quick right before he wrote the draft on this one. And he's like, I'll throw some thing at the end that seems vaguely end-like.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind having seen them actually part of the rebellion. That would have been interesting.
One more book would have been interesting.
Yeah, like maybe even a book, even though the timeline would be wrong, a book that took place like post-Empire, like, because then you wouldn't even have. Then, like, you know, you could. This book would obviously take Shadows of the Empire as canon, so they could ignore the main characters for the most part.
Oh, man. What if they had a Zizor run in? That would be fun.
Yeah, I'm shocked that didn't happen, honestly.
Right. Okay, so on the Wikipedia articles for these two, they have a later life section, and the only place that I can figure out this comes from is from another hyperspace article, Droids, Technology, and the Force, a clash of phenomenon, and it's a hyperspace article. And so some of the source articles may be where this comes from. It says, following this, both the Arandas received university training after the threat of the Empire had lessened and became anthropologists themselves. They also attended the Jedi Paraxium, I think that's how you say that,
Sure.
for a time before Hull moved them to an undisclosed location, possibly New Alderaan. So they say that it says that in the opening biography for Zach that he became a Jedi of the New Jedi Order. And same with Tash, that she also became a Jedi of the New Jedi Order. So,
That's
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I mean, good for them. I figured, you know, that's probably where their future lie. Yeah, I don't know. This book I thought was fine. I agree with our listener that it is one of the spookier books in the series. The cannibalism stuff is pretty crazy. And I had a good enough time with it. It's, like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, it's pretty. I will say this series is pretty consistent.
It doesn't have a lot of very low lows. In general.
No.
Like the books are all fine, but they're very much what we thought probably this show is going to be going into it. Jude has spoiled us.
Jude has so spoiled us.
But these books are fun. Definitely, if you have a kid that's into horror or whatever, and also Star Wars, they're perfectly fun reads for that age group.
They're prime,
and they should throw them up, make digital copies available, or do an omnibus or something. All these books should be in print. Stupid as hell.
I agree. It's pointless not to be.
So yeah, John Whitman, decent, serviceable young readers novelist. I think the only other didn't we find it wasn't the only other major book he wrote was a 24 tie-in novel or something.
Oh, hang on, let's look this up. I know John he's involved in mixed martial arts. So.
Yes, I know. Yeah. We talked. I'm sure if you went back to the first episode from a year ago on this on the series, we talked all about all this. But I was just because I was looking for a Galaxy of Fear book on Thrift Books, and I clicked on his author page, and the only other book I remember seeing was a 24 tie-in novel.
Yeah, I'm looking on his... Oh, yes, yeah, you're right about that. His most recent books include 4 novels based on the 24 series, published by HarperCollins, so...
Shouts to HarperCollins, baby. That's the big time.
Yes, he's also a 5th degree black belt, and a defensive tactics instructor. So, yep, good for him. I have no beef with these books; they're fun. But that's it. That's it. That's the end. That's the end of Galaxy of Fear.
That's it for Galaxy of Fear, and that's it for this season of Padawan Library. We will be back in the new year. Do not fret. We're also probably going to release one special episode between now and then.
Ooh! That reminds me. I need to look up something. Okay. I think there's another Jude short story that we haven't read yet.
Oh, well, we'll be reading it. We'll figure it out.
I was wondering, we could probably do that for that middle episode, I was thinking.
That might be fun.
That could be the one thing that we read. Let's see. Okay. Ghost. Okay, we've read Stormfleet Warning and Last One Standing. Ghost of the Sith is a short story in Star Wars Insider 88 and the Star Wars Official Magazine 65. Holy shit, it details a visit to Korriban by Ferris Olin.
Oh, well, we'll be reading that. Yeah, no, that'll be cool. We'll read that, and we're going to answer some questions, so keep sending those in to padawanlibrary@gmail.com. We'll probably talk Mando wherever the season's at that point, whenever we decide to make... We're not promising a date on that episode. We don't know yet. But sometime in December, probably. But
when we come back, ask on your Christmas list or your Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate for the High Republic book.
That'll be the first thing back.
That comes out actually January 5th, so you can't get it for Christmas. But
you can get a pre-order, though.
Yep, you can get a pre-order.
So we'll be coming back the week after that book, basically. So middle of January. I don't know the exact date right off the top. But we are... We'll announce our full schedule when we do that special episode.
If it comes out on the 5th, then a week after that would be the 12th, which is actually my birthday.
I got some fun format ideas for next season.
Ooh.
So look forward to it. We'll be covering some other content. Maybe non-Star Wars related content. But they'll tie into the book somehow. You'll figure it out.
I remember this content you're telling me about.
All right, so we'll talk all about it next year. So I hope you guys all have, first of all, obviously everybody vote, and second of all, I hope in your own lives you have a good rest of the year, a good holiday season, and you're back with us refreshed in the new year, hopefully.
Yep.
So.
And in the words of Jerry Springer, take care of each other.
Oh my gosh, okay. You did that like 2 weeks ago. You've done that so many times. You're obsessed with Jerry Springer.
Just take care of each other.
Obviously,
it's a universal thing.
I agree. Anyway, continue.
All right, until the books are due back.
The library is closed.
Open the door, you'll find the secret. To find the answer is to keep it. You'll believe it when you find something screaming across your mind. Green slime. What can it be? What is the reason? Is this the end to all that we've done? Is it just something in your head? Will you believe it when you're dead? Green slime. Man has looked out to space in wonder for thousands of years. Sometimes thinking that life could be somewhere, and now it's here. What can it lead? What is the reason? Is this the end to all that we've done? Is it just something in your head? Will you believe it when you're dead? Green